Hello, I'm Sebastian. Welcome to Nine Nar Trees podcast. Today, I will summarize and review the book, Hope in the Dark, Untold Histories, Wild Possibilities, by Rebecca Solnit is a widely discussed work of political and social reflection that argues for a grounded, active form of hope in uncertain times. Rather than offering optimism as a mood or a guarantee of happy endings, Solnit frames hope as a stance rooted in history, attention, and participation. The book draws on examples from social movements, cultural shifts, and political turning points to show how change often arrives indirectly, unevenly, and from unexpected places. Solnit emphasizes that outcomes are rarely predetermined, and that the future is shaped by collective effort as much as by institutions or headlines. Written for readers who feel overwhelmed by crisis, cynicism, or the apparent permanence of injustice, the book offers a counter-narrative, the story of how people have repeatedly expanded rights, altered public consciousness, and reshaped what once seemed inevitable. It is both a critique of fatalism and a call to stay engaged. I will give you key takeaways from this book. Firstly, hope as an active practice, not a feeling. A central idea in the book is that hope is most useful when it is treated as a practice rather than an emotion. Solnit challenges the assumption that hope equals confidence or cheerful certainty. Instead, hope is presented as a willingness to act amid uncertainty, to keep working without demanding immediate proof that efforts will succeed. This approach reframes discouragement. If outcomes are not fixed, then participation matters, and individual and collective choices can influence what becomes possible. The book contrasts hope with both passive optimism and paralyzing despair. Optimism can become complacency when it assumes progress is automatic, while despair can become a self-fulfilling prophecy when it convinces people that nothing will change. By placing hope in the realm of action, Solnit highlights the ethics of engagement, showing up, organizing, voting, creating, teaching, protesting, or building alternatives. The payoff is not just future results, but the present experience of agency and solidarity. The book argues that this kind of hope is compatible with grief and anger, and that mature hope can coexist with clear-eyed recognition of harm while still insisting that the story is not finished. Secondly, Untold Histories of Change and the Myth of Inevitability. Solnit draws attention to the way mainstream narratives often erase the messy, incremental, and collective nature of social change. Many victories appear, in hindsight, to have been inevitable, but the book insists that they were contingent and contested, made by people who could not know the outcome. By revisiting overlooked histories of movements and cultural shifts, Solnit argues that the public is often taught the wrong lesson, that progress is either impossible or automatic. Both lessons discourage participation. The book's counter-lesson is that major transformations frequently begin as minority positions, dismissed or ridiculed before they gain traction. Change can arrive through unexpected alliances, local victories that scale, or cultural reframing that alters what policies become feasible. Solnit's emphasis on hidden histories also broadens what counts as political. Shifts in language, art, norms, and public imagination can be prerequisites for legal or institutional change. The result is a perspective that prizes patience and persistence. If the past is full of surprises, then the future may be as well. This historical lens is meant to restore a sense of possibility without denying the reality of backlash, delay, or incomplete wins. Thirdly, uncertainty as the space where possibility lives. Another key topic is the relationship between uncertainty and freedom. Solnit treats uncertainty not merely as a source of anxiety, but as the condition that makes transformation possible. When people assume that power structures are permanent, they surrender imagination and initiative. When they accept that outcomes are uncertain, they gain a reason to act, because actions can matter. The book explores how predictions, especially doomsday or inevitability narratives, can become a trap. They can narrow the range of perceived options and make complex situations seem predetermined. Solnit argues for humility about forecasting and for attentiveness to what is emerging at the margins, new ideas, networks, and forms of resistance. This focus encourages readers to keep their minds open to nonlinear change, where small events can trigger larger shifts, and where cultural tipping points may be invisible until they happen. The emphasis on uncertainty also supports a more compassionate politics. If nobody fully controls history, then movements must work with imperfect information, imperfect allies, and imperfect strategies. The book suggests that staying present, learning, and adapting are more realistic than demanding certainty before committing to action. Fourthly, the power of collective action and civic imagination. Solnit highlights collective action as the engine that turns hope into visible change. Rather than portraying social movements as spontaneous eruptions, the book emphasizes sustained effort, organizing, coalition building, storytelling, and the slow labor of creating institutions and communities that can endure. One important angle is that power is not only held by governments and corporations, but is also distributed through culture, norms, and everyday decisions. When large numbers of people shift what they accept, buy, tolerate, or celebrate, the political landscape changes. The book therefore values civic imagination, the ability to picture a world different from the one currently on offer. Imagination is not escapism. It is planning at the level of values and narratives. Solnit suggests that movements succeed not only by opposing injustice, but by offering compelling alternatives and widening the sense of what a good society could look like. This topic also stresses that wins are often partial and that setbacks do not erase progress. Collective action can create infrastructure for future struggles, train new leaders, and build relationships that make subsequent victories more achievable. Lastly, resisting cynicism, burnout, and the politics of despair, the book addresses how cynicism and burnout function as political forces. Despair can be understandable in the face of violence, inequality, or environmental crisis, but Solnit argues that despair can also serve the status quo by reducing participation. Cynicism, similarly, can masquerade as sophistication while offering little more than withdrawal. Solnit proposes a different kind of resilience, staying engaged without demanding constant emotional uplift or instant results. This includes learning to measure progress realistically, recognizing that many efforts lay groundwork that others may later build on. The book also points to the importance of community in sustaining long-term commitment. People are more likely to persist when they feel connected, when they share stories of past gains, and when they can mourn losses together without translating grief into surrender. This topic reframes activism and civic engagement as forms of care for the future, even when outcomes are uncertain. It encourages readers to pay attention to small shifts, local victories, and cultural changes that may not dominate headlines. By treating hope as a discipline and despair as a temptation, the book equips readers to remain present in public life with steadier expectations and stronger endurance. In conclusion, this book is best suited for readers who care about social justice, democracy, climate action, or community life, and who feel pulled between the urgency of current crises and the fear that nothing will improve. It will also resonate with organizers, educators, writers, and anyone trying to stay engaged without being consumed by outrage or exhaustion. The benefit is practical as well as emotional. Solnit offers a way to think that supports sustained action. By emphasizing uncertain outcomes, overlooked histories, and the cumulative power of collective effort, the book can help readers replace paralysis with participation and replace fatalism with realistic possibility. That shift can improve daily life by restoring agency, deepening connection to others, and providing a framework for making meaningful choices even when the news is bleak. Compared to similar books that lean heavily on either inspirational uplift or grim diagnosis, Hope in the Dark stands out for balancing clarity about suffering with a historically grounded argument for possibility. It does not promise easy victories. It explains why commitment still matters. That combination makes it worth buying for anyone seeking durable motivation rather than temporary reassurance. If you would like to support Rebecca Solnit, you can buy the book through the Amazon link I've provided in the podcast description. After reading the book, please let me know what you think and share your thoughts. See you around.